Good evening. So this is the internet as it exists today, and there are a few dominant sites which we call the cloud. Amazon, Flipkart, Facebook, eBay, Google, WhatsApp, of course. So the cloud is like some abstract entity. We don't know what goes on in there. It's a centralized system, a centralized opaque system run by corporations with us, basically the users, the laptop, the smartphone, and reduced to mere leaf nodes. So we are the end users. We have no power, no say over the cloud, and it is a hierarchical structure. It is a centralized internet, and this centralized architecture has major design flaws. Centralization of power means that we are increased censorship. Facebook does censor people's posts depending on the content. They call it errors. They have very excuses for what they do. But ultimately, the fact remains that it is censorship. Then censorship means that we don't have basic democracy. Democracy depends on the right to political dissent, the right to express everybody's views. So democracy itself is opposed to centralization of power and centralization of the internet. What net neutrality means is that the carrier of the packets, carrier of the data packets, namely the phone companies, the service providers, they have no say on what the packets contain. They cannot interfere with the packets. They must just carry the packets from point A to point B. They are mere couriers, and couriers do not have power to decide over what the packets do and where they go. And differential pricing is the opposite of that, which is basically you have different prices for audio, video, currents, and the service provider, the courier, discriminates between traffic and prices fixing accordingly. Maybe they discriminate between websites, maybe they discriminate between content, or whatever differential pricing scheme it is. So, what does differential pricing have to do with centralization? Differential pricing cements this structure. This is our instance in time. This currently dominant cloud is our instance in time. With these popular sites, Facebook wasn't always here. There was Orkut, there was MySpace, there were other social networks which are basically extinct now. So, differential pricing is in the interest of corporations like Facebook, who want to forever remain here and maintain a monopolistic stranglehold over the internet. They want to be here forever, basically. And doesn't matter whether they provide good service, whether they are nice people, they want to have a monopolistic stranglehold. So differential pricing cements that structure. Yeah. So what would the world be like if we had no net neutrality? So for that we take the example of TV, a completely non-neutral medium, TV channels. If you want to start a new TV channel, you cannot do it easily. It takes a lot of money. It's not simple business, and the customers, the end users, they subscribe to channels. So if you want some sports channel, you pay for it separately. If you want some news, some entertainment, you pay for it separately. The pricing is based on content, on channels. So making that analogy to the internet, if we go along with free basics and other differential pricing schemes, we will end up with a system very much like DTH or TV. You have 1,000 odd channels or 1,000 websites maybe, and you can just choose between them. And this they say is fair. Obviously, it is not. It is a restricted form of a truly neutral medium should just charge for data which goes back and forth from some node. It should not be about what the data represents or what content it is. It is just bits, and there are no sacred or more equal bits in the network. So, critics of net neutrality argue that it is just a principle, and any principle must demonstrate practical feasibility, and if it does not hold up to real world scenarios, it should be gotten rid of. That's fair enough. Facebook claims that they will connect the world, and connecting the world is their primary mission, and they want to connect the unconnected, and that is their campaign. And they say that there is no other way to connect people, and this is the only economically feasible way to connect people. That's not entirely true. There are other initiatives which try to decentralize the internet. So decentralized internet means that we have something like a peer-to-peer network where everybody is a content creator, and everybody has their own. There are many. Let's take chat, for example, chat. So there are many chat providers all over the internet. Different people. Maybe it's you, maybe it's your friend, maybe it's somebody in your village or town, and they all work together. So if you're on Facebook, you can't chat with Google, or you can't chat to MSN. Each network tries to log you into one particular service. Facebook tries to log you into Facebook, Google tries to log you into Hangouts. Instead of that, we have different providers who all work, who all interoperate with each other and compete. So if you don't like Facebook, if you don't like the service Facebook offers you, if you don't like the privacy Facebook offers you, if you think they're censoring your content, you drop them, go to somebody who does not do that, somebody you like. And if nobody is to your satisfaction, you drop all of them and start up your own. That is your, so there is minimal or no barrier to entry into the market. That is what a free market is about. It is not about monopolistic competition. A good, healthy competition involves people being free to enter the market anytime and compete among each other. That's what a perfect competition is supposed to be about. So running servers is not an easy thing. It's not. It takes a good amount of technical skill. So projects like FreedomBox try to automate the process as much as possible and make it easy for common people to run networks, run servers. So this is basically a box which is about the size of your broadband modem plus router. You just plug it into your system, into your phone line, and it's automatically set up to, it's automatically pre-configured to start up and just run servers. So it is about as easy to use as your smartphone is. And this is a project which aims to truly decentralize the internet and make it easy for people to set up their service. Yeah, next one. And this is another one called OpenBTS. You can go to the next. Next. Yes. Yeah, this is a project called OpenBTS, or Open Base Station. This is what BTS stands for. It is a software-defined radio system. So basically, a piece of software that can turn a computer into a cell phone base station, a cell phone tower. This enables anybody, basically, let's say some village which has no connectivity, somebody in the village to set up a small local telephone company by just downloading this free and open source software and running this program. So they have a cell phone tower. And you could have many of these people, many similar initiatives, similar small companies, if you may, over different villages. And it is a telephone company from the bottom up rather than from top down, like currently are Airtel, BSNL, and a few big companies which dominate over the entire countries and maybe even multiple countries. So it's to build a phone company from down up.
Peer to peer.
It's not BTS is not peer to peer. No, it's not really peer to peer. It's just standard GSM. The protocol they're implementing is standard GSM. So but later you could have peer to peer. There are Wi-Fi mesh networks which are more like what you said. There are these are called these are mesh networks. Basically, if you can connect the Wi-Fi routers all over the world. There are so many Wi-Fi routers. Wi-Fi devices have become very common. Wi-Fi is in your phone, Wi-Fi is in your laptop, Wi-Fi is in routers. So there are other initiatives which work on true peer-to-peer, but OpenBTS is just DSM. So you could have a diversity of different approaches which work together for interoperability than no, as opposed to Facebook scheme where you have one monopoly and they claim that monopoly is the only way to connect everybody. So I think I leave it here and I give it to Ram to introduce three basics and what it means.
Trying to say that yes, we are going to connect the whole world to the internet. Okay, so that's how it all started, and internet.org is actually a misnamed word. So how internet.org started was they told we'll be providing limited access, that is a selected set of websites will be available to everybody through a particular telecom as in Reliance or Airtel or any of these guys, so that everybody can be online in Facebook if you're online. Okay, and so that is how internet.org started, and various net neutrality.
Did you start in India or
No, India is being implemented in some other countries. India is just one of them. And then what happened was various net neutrality activists started fighting, saying no, internet.org is not okay, and a whole debate started. So, what is net neutrality basically? Net neutrality in simpler terms is just two things. One, all the content on the internet should be treated equally, and there should be no fast lanes or slow lanes or nothing like that. Okay, in simple words. Okay. So to understand what is this all about, let's just say you go to a movie theater. Okay, there are various options to go as a movie theater. You could go to a normal theater in some random road, or you could go to a multiplex and watch a movie. But what is constant here is the movie. The movie is not changing anywhere. It's just that you get service on the movie for what you pay. Like if you go to a multiplex, you could get an AC, there's some DTS effects, things like that. If you go to a normal theater, you will get a fan with some lower quality sound, right? So it's the service that I enjoy that it was, but the actual content that is on the screen that for which I am subscribed to is not changing. Okay, that's primarily how we have to understand net neutrality. Okay, so justifying net neutrality, the fight basically started with Airtel. Airtel came up with something called Airtel Zero. So what they told us, we will give access to a basic free set of websites to everybody through Airtel, and then they can move to the rest of the things by paying for the internet. Again, violating net neutrality because there's something called fast lanes. Every content on the internet is basically differentiated. And the second thing they told was, your data is treated differently from your audio. Your audio is treated differently from your video. So basically, all a computer or a network knows is zeros and ones. It doesn't matter an audio or a video or a data. But then what Airtel did was, they started framing, okay, this 0 bit is an audio bit. This 1 bit is a video bit. So these two cannot be the same. Okay, so there was an artificial scarcity or an artificial differentiation created, and then Airtel told we are going to give differential pricing for everything, and then that again went into an opposition, and I think Jay will brief you more on that. Let me not go too into that. So what is free basics? Like she told, it's the same old wine and new water. So people told internet.org is not okay, what you are giving is not the internet. So Facebook told, okay, we change the name and come back. So they came back with internet.org called Free Basics. It's that simple. There's nothing beautiful about internet.org, I mean Free Basics. So, but what we have to understand here is the two keywords, what is free and what is basics. Right? What is free here? Facebook clearly says free is not as in free. Free as in what I give you to use so that you can use what is called basics. Okay? So what is basics? I choose what you want so that you can use it for free and that you will be benefited. Amazing, right? I mean, let's go to a farmer and say, I'll give you free Facebook, use it and grow your crops. Will that even help them? Okay, fine. Let's go a little more deeper. Let's say I define what my basics is. I say I am a farmer, I don't want Facebook, I just want some agriculture.com. Facebook isn't allowed. Right? So you see the definition of basics by itself there's a monopoly there. I define what is basic to you. I don't even know you. Again, that is a myth. Facebook knows everything about you. But based on what Facebook knows about you, they say, okay, let's take India as a whole, and to whole India, only these 20 websites are required. I mean, is that even justified? How many of you know the recent Chennai floods? Chennai floods. There was a huge flood in Chennai, and there's a website called ChennaiFloods.org. If it was free basics, most of the people who got benefited out of ChennaiFloods.org would not have got access. Why? Because Facebook defines what is basic, not what I need as a basic. Okay?
Sorry, are you opposing it just because it's called free basics? If you called it Facebook 20 sites and gave it for free, would you then be okay with it?
No, I'm still not okay.
Okay, so
I'm justifying it. I'm justifying
I
it.
think we're spending disproportionate amount of time on the semantics. Free basics, it's just a name. Like you buy stuff called natural, Ayurveda, that may not be natural, right? But we buy it all the time. So, what's in a name?
It's important because Facebook is using this name to fool people.
So that's why I'm asking if he named it Facebook 20 sites,
See,
would we
yeah,
still
let us
apply
forget
it?
the semantics. The problem is the bandwidth is public property, and when you use it for your monopoly purpose, the remaining bandwidth becomes costly.
Are you open to discussion here or do we finish up with
We finished the talk and then we'll
Yeah.
finish it.
Let's finish with the
So what Facebook primarily does is, it's in the name of creating digital equality among people, it's actually creating a fake digital equality in the name of saying people are all online on the internet, but whereas where they are actually online is on Facebook. Okay, so to justify that, there was a recent study done in Indonesia, a country called Indonesia, where people are asked how many of you use Facebook, and it was like 60+% of people told yes, we use Facebook. But then when the question was how many of you use internet, it was just 30+%. So coming back to your question, the basic problem is they're trying to create a mentality in our minds saying that this 20 is what the internet is. I'm not justifying the name, but asking if it's called Facebook 20 or let it be called whatever name it is. The plan or the scheme as such is making sure that our minds are tuned to think that only these 20 websites is the internet. Okay, which again is a problem for us. So what Free Basics is basically keeping itself and its partners free of access to everybody so that they get a majority or the monopoly over the internet market. Okay, that's primarily what Facebook is trying to do. So to give a more clarity on that, Facebook is never about, or Free Basics is not about connecting people. It's about making a better business around the not connected. How? I'm sure most of you know about Facebook's privacy issues, data collection issues, and all those stuff. So, in the digital age, data is the new oil. Right? The more the data they get, the more the control they have on you. So that's exactly what Facebook, through Free Basics, is doing. Okay? But the interesting question is, so I mean, this is the justification. Let's say you use Free Basics and you use the internet. And this is literally how most of the internet today is also. But then what happens is, any information or anything that goes through your network or your information, your likes, your quotes, your comments, your tags, everything goes for various aspects. Market analysis, research analysis, advertisement agencies. Basically, your data is sold out to multiple people to make better profits. That's exactly what will happen with your data. And that with Free Basics is going to increase way more. Why? Basically for two reasons. Primarily for two reasons. One is, Facebook says in their developer policies, I mean this is a common claim that Facebook does, our developer policy is open for everybody to come and access. That's absolutely a joke. You know, the primary and the ultimate end day goal is, at the end of the day, Facebook decides what websites come through Free Basics and what doesn't. It's not even the Reliance in India, it's not even the Airtel in India, it's Facebook. So what exactly is Facebook doing here? It is not the end consumer, it is not the network provider, it is not the network traffic guy in between, neither is it the website poster, it's nothing. They say,
Sorry, what is it that we are getting as of now free? that if some NGO or let's say Facebook, it has taken an initiative to provide something for free. But what is it as of now that people are getting for free? If some company or some website comes up that as an NGO, I want to provide something for free. Yes, there is a monopoly, we all can say that monopoly can go with anyone. But if it is trying to do something for free, I still don't get it at what is wrong with it if we are not getting anything as of now for free.
Any other discussion later?
I'll answer it. Okay. So the so-called, I just took one of those examples. They say free agriculture, free technology, free education. I just took free education, primarily because I'm working in a college. So free education and free basics is just a joke. You can't access Coursera, you can't access edX, you can't access any of the MOOCs. So what is free education here? Idea Internet Network? I don't know. It's probably. So what Facebook primarily is doing is creating itself a separate network because, I probably missed the second point. The first thing is, it's sitting itself in a place where it can control every other stakeholder in the internet. The end user, the telecom provider, everybody else, the network provider, everybody. Two, the developer policy says primarily that you have to post your website on free basics, not on the internet, on free basics. Okay, which primarily means my database is accessible to Facebook. The data that comes to my website is accessible to Facebook. So literally, the data that is not accessible on the internet is even more accessible on free basics now. Okay. So I think you have probably answered this even more better. So I would have told most of the points. It would be like repeating it again. So primarily, it's the monopoly issues, the network, separate network issues, and things. We'll go more into this on the discussions. So we have other similar plans like Airtel Zero and all your free WhatsApp, free Facebook plans. They're all basically violating all the net neutrality things. Okay, so this is a primary question. Again, coming back to your first point, something is better than nothing. People actually get something out of it, things like that. But what is the underlying issue here? See, okay, let's understand this in a little more detail. Okay, I am a telecom provider. I have a certain infrastructure, right? So now that I tie up with Facebook and I use all my existing infrastructure to give free basics to everybody.
You might use all his infrastructure. That's
okay, let's say most of the infrastructure or 50% of the infrastructure, some amount of the infrastructure that I give internet to free basics. Okay, so the claim that now Facebook does this, people actually move to the actual internet from free basics. That's a claim. So let's look at it this way. I give certain amount of my infrastructure completely to free basics. So that becomes inaccessible. So let's say Reliance, let's say there are 3 billion people in India and about 1 billion people on the internet who use internet. And let's say some 5% or 10% of it is now inclined to telecost, some telecosts. Let's say Reliance, for example. Some 10% of 1 billion people are using Reliance for accessing internet. Now, Reliance should have set up the infrastructure only to make sure that this 10% of the population accesses internet. That's all the infrastructure they would be investing on, primarily. So now, certain amount of that infrastructure goes back to free basics. So now when a user comes back from actual free basics into the actual internet, what happens is the infrastructure has to be upgraded to support the existing free basics or the new people coming into free basics, and also provide a better internet or the actual internet into people. So that again is a question that people actually will not know. And there has been various countries which have stopped free basics, saying that it actually doesn't work. And there's a, I forgot his name. Yeah, he's called Professor Vishal Mishra from Columbia University. He's actually published a research article saying how zero rating plans really don't work, how it really doesn't help people to come on the internet. Okay, that's probably an article you might want to go ahead and read. Yeah.
Whatever you mentioned, that's the problem of Reliance. His normal customer is not satisfied with his other.
I answered this question again in the discussion.
Okay.
I have an answer for you. So, our justification primarily is people say something is better than nothing, but it's actually equal to nothing because ultimately you say it only on Facebook or the 20 sites, even if you come on like
Let people decide whether it is same as nothing. Why are we?
No, that's why I told you. It's my view. I told you. So, Primarily, the action item of this talk would be that TRAI still has a deadline till tomorrow to design on something called differential pricing on the internet. That is basically should be allowed zero price, zero plan, zero rating plans, fast lanes, slow lanes, and things like that. So TRAI has extended its deadline till tomorrow. So after this discussion, whatever your thoughts are. So if your thoughts on the net neutrality side of it, and all you have to do is visit savetheinternet.in website, and then there's an email pre-made on that. TRAI basically has asked a few questions, and we have a ready-made set of answers. Read through the answers, don't just blindly copy paste. Read the answers. Anywhere you find injustifiable, feel free to modify it, and then send out an email to TRAI. Yeah, we'll take questions later. Yeah.
Friends, I represent Free Software Movement Karnataka, which has been popularizing free software among the engineering colleges and academics for the last 7-8 years. Here I would like to present some of the viewpoints of free software activists on the issue of free basics. Ever since the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India released a consultative paper on the differential pricing, seeking the opinion from the different corner of the country. At the same time, we have also been seeing the massive advertisement campaign by the biggest internet company, Facebook, inviting support for the free basics scheme earlier, which failed to do with the internet attack. And on the other hand, we also see a lot of net neutrality activists, free software movement activists, FSMP and FSMI, have been resisting this free basics scheme throughout the country, whether it is Bangalore, Mandya, or in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and in many parts of the country, people have been on the street to resist the move of this biggest company, which has been releasing a lot of advertisements in electronic media and print media. So my friends have been able to, they were presented on what net neutrality is all about and what the function of the internet is all about. So I wouldn't go into the details of that, but when we say net neutrality, it is to ensure that at the level of telecom operators and internet service providers, they should ensure the same speed for all the websites without any discrimination, and also they should ensure same data charges for all the websites without any discrimination. And if this net neutrality is lost, and what happens, we all know, the telecom operators and the ISPs would become the gatekeepers of the internet, and they will decide what websites we need to see and for how long we have to see, how much we have to see. So for this, we need to, FSMP has and also FSMI throughout the country. In fact, in Hyderabad, there have been a day-long dharna by free software activists and software community resisting this. And as we have been seeing different advertisements from the Facebook on how the free basics has been able to help a researcher, poor researcher, in acquainting knowledge through this, and also a poor farmer could able to acquaint or get many farming techniques through this free basics and all. But if we really see the ground reality, we all know that it's not possible to prevent the farmer suicides by getting into these tips and all. It definitely needs a policy intervention. That's where our friend were telling about the philanthropic mask of this scheme. And also, 52% of the content in the Facebook is in English, and whereas in India, about only 12% of the people can converse or can get data in English. So the availability of the content in the regional languages, for which a proper education system, quality schools, quality teachers, and affordable health care, these are all required at the actual level. And whereas this free basics, as my friends were telling, seeks to provide a minuscule subset of websites on the internet. Whereas if you see, there are more than 1 billion number of websites on the internet, and at least 8.5 lakhs of internet websites are active websites on the internet. But if you see the free basic scheme, it's, I mean, the number of sites it is going to offer to the general public, we do not know whether it is going to offer 10 numbers, 50 numbers, 100 numbers. Ultimately, it depends on its business model. So, and also it is going to create a barrier for the user, so that they would be in their own perimeter to cross the charge of the internet. To quote our own example, we have been running two community centers, one Ambedkar Community Center, Computing Community Center, and another at Wilson Garden, one is at the JP Nagar slum, where underprivileged students come and get the basic computer skills, and they also have been able to get a internet access through which they can access to any websites, any number of websites. But if the same students get trapped into these free basics, they would be made to believe that maybe a 50 or 100 websites itself is the internet. So this is where we need to contest and resist the move by the company. And as along with this, from the Free Software Movement side, we also perceive these free basics as a dangerous things for the basic democracy itself, because it is going to, not only that it is going to create a walled garden by providing a very limited access to the net, by making the internet as a bits and pieces, but also on the issue of security, when we access websites related to banking, trading or shopping, there is going to be a decrypting of the messages. There is a possibility to decrypt before sending it to the destination with an encryption. And privacy issue, we all know through the revenue model of the internet companies like Google and Facebook has been based on providing the personal profiling, the data to the advertisers. That's how I mean they have been able to generate revenues. And on the other side, we very well know about the surveillance issue through the revelations of the whistleblower Edward Snowden. How the internet companies, Facebook, Google, and all, have been working closely with the US National Security Agency, and they compromise the data, personal data of their users, and they have been colluding with violating all these privacy norms. And if we look at the history of the same internet companies which have been trying to push this walled garden schemes of free basics, earlier when they were in the infant stages, telecom companies, telecom operators were in fact dictating the terms while providing the internet services. As the internet companies also have been able to become a biggest monopolies. In fact, if we consider the top 5 internet companies market cap, it is almost same or little more than the top 5 companies of the global telecom operators. So now both the telecom operators and the internet companies have come together to attack the internet, and they have been up in arms against the net users, net neutrality activists who have been trying to protect this. So in this background, Free Software Movement Karnataka and the FSMI and all other net neutrality activists have been demanding the government to come up with a strong legislation for ensuring the net neutrality, or to amend the Indian Telegraph Act so as to protect the same. And we have also been demanding the TRAI to intervene, which is the regulatory body, to intervene to protect the interests of the common users by not yielding to the big companies. So if we look at the whole scenario, when our governments have been talking about Make in India, to increase our contribution in the manufacturing sector and innovation and research, and also to make a digital India. But if we see the policies of our government, the same policies have been pushing us towards digital suicide rather than enabling a more democratic functioning and improvement of the livelihoods by enabling this ICT and internet. So these are some of the points from the perspective of free software movement. So I conclude with this. Thank you for giving this opportunity, and let's discuss.